Hello, this lesson we are going to learn about stretching and shrinking objects with the scale command. The scale command is very cool because it allows you to both stretch objects to increase their size and to shrink objects and decrease their size. Another thing that is awesome about the scale command is that it allows you to perform these scale changes along either the X, Y, or Z axis. I have created a simple example for us so that we can play around with the scale command. You can see here in the viewport that there is a ring with an inner radius of 1 and an outer radius of 2. On the left we have the code where we create this ring, my ring, color it teal, and display it. Now let me explain how the scale command works. The scale command takes 3 parameters. The first is the object that we want to scale. The second is the multiplier that we want to scale our object by. The third parameter is the axis that we want to scale the object on, which can be a capital X or Y for two-dimensional objects like our ring here, or it can be a capital X, Y, or Z for three-dimensional objects. For our first example, let's stretch out my ring here by a multiplier of 2 along the x-axis. To do this, we will enter the code all caps scale my ring by 2 along the X, capital X axis. And then we will run our program to see it. Our ring has now grown to twice its size along the X axis. Notice that the distance from the center of the ring to the inside edge is now 2, and the center of the ring to the outside edge is now 1, 2, 3, 4. Both of these are double what they were originally. Also notice that no change has happened to our ring in the vertical direction along the y-axis. So the stretching only takes place around the axis that we specify here in the third parameter. The second parameter is the one that determines whether an object is being stretched or if it is being shrunk. It is a number that acts as a multiplier which determines how much the object is being scaled. So if you refer to something as twice as big, remember that you could literally stretch something to be 2 times as big, like we did here with this example by putting in a multiplier of 2 along the x-axis. On the other hand, if you want to make something half the size, you would literally put in a 0.5, which is 1/2. Let's do that for our second example, and shrink our ring to half the size along the x-axis. Now you can see that the distance from the center to the inside edge is 1/2, and the center to the outside edge is 1, exactly half of the measure as it was for the original ring. A second parameter multiplier, which is greater than 1, will stretch the object, and a multiplier which is less than 1 but still greater than 0 will shrink it. For a last example, I want to stretch our ring to 3 times its size along the y-axis. I'll do this by changing our second parameter to a 3 and our third parameter to a capital Y, and then running our program. Then I gotta zoom out so we can see our fully scaled object. Our ring now has the exact same dimensions as the original along the x-axis, but is stretched out to 3 times its size along the y-axis. I hope that this has helped you understand the scale command. To summarize, let's review a few things. Remember that it takes 3 parameters, the first to select the object to be scaled, the second to select a multiplier number to scale the object by, and the third to select an axis along which we want to scale our object. If we have a second parameter between 0 and 1, it shrinks our object. If our second parameter is greater than 1, it will stretch our object. The third parameter selects an axis to scale our object on. Remember that for two-dimensional objects, the parameter can be either capital X or capital Y, but also remember that three-dimensional objects can be scaled along the z-axis.